Thanks so much for joining, everybody. So I'm just going to quickly introduce myself, like Kapil already did. I'm Abbas. I work at Emergent, handling ecosystem efforts. Previously, I used to be a part of Super Team and a few other major projects that worked in the space. Been around for a while doing NFTs, crypto, and all of those things. The good thing is I know all of these panelists in some shape or form. I've interacted with them on various occasions. So some interesting insights. Kaavya and I have met before at different conferences. Pareen and Vish in particular. Vish, I spent time interacting with him on Clubhouse Rooms, event 2021. NFTs were booming. We had all of that hype going on, late night conversations, midnight conversations. So I'm really happy I can do this. And with Pareen, I had my first, one of my first YouTube videos that I published, and we discussed Bitcoin and the Kardashev scale. We spoke about how Bitcoin would make us from almost a type 1 civilization to type 3. So if you haven't heard about that, maybe you can look up that video as well. So it's a couple years old. But yeah, good to have you guys over here. Maybe we could do a quick round of intros, starting from Vish.
Hi guys. I started working on the Web3 side with like Sino Global Capital. Was heading India for them, looking at investments. Now I'm heading BeraChain. It's a new L1, which is EVM compatible, built on the Cosmos SDK.
Hey guys, my name is Kaavya. I've been in this space since 2017. Got in for Bitcoin, but stayed for the technology. Been in the developer community building ecosystem for about 5 years now. So my company is essentially building a developer ecosystem, and we're building suites of products to increase learning and earning opportunities for them.
Hey everyone, sorry. I'm Pareen. I've been in the ecosystem since 2017 as well, and been a writer most of the time. Last 2 years I've been building BuidlersTribe, which is a networked incubator. And yeah, I'm mostly chilling and reading these days, not doing much.
Perfect. I think we can dive straight into the topic, right? I think you can see we're talking about what strategies can we have for building developer communities in India, and nobody better than this panel, right? So I'll start with Pareen maybe. Pareen, if you have thoughts about what according to you is like a core function of an organization or a community that's working or building for developers, whether it's organizing them, helping them with hackathons, etc. Do you have thoughts on that?
So I think most important is to understand the funnel where these devs are coming from, because I think at least till last cycle, crypto was a bad word, and we had to really sell blockchain as a technology. This is the first time that we don't have to. Everyone just understands that blockchain is here to stay. For me, it starts with basic education. Telling them why we are doing this is super, super important, because mostly everyone enters the industry for money, because it looks like there is a lot of money, and there is, no doubt. But if the why is not very strong, they don't stay back during the worst of bear markets, right? And we need people who are there because of the technology, although it's become a meme now. I think it starts from there, and then you train them for the skills. And I think we've got fantastic organizations like Lumos who are doing phenomenal work to train devs for skills. I think if they are united by the why, then you can train them for how to do something. And of course, we have Super Team, we have a bunch of places in India where they can then go and start making their first $100, right? That's how you guys say it. So let's add to the Web3 GDP if that was a DAO in India, like they say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a great segue as well into understanding what Kaavya does. Maybe you want to take that.
So what I think is the core function of a community, and that goes for any community, right, not just developers, is that sense of belonging, right? A place where people can share knowledge, support each other, and collaborate. What's worked best for us is understanding what that community needs. So in our case, it's always been developers wanting to find opportunities or learning a new skill and finding their end journey in the space, right? The end goal always differs. Some people want to start up, so they build on an idea, they want to build a project, they want to take it to the next level. Some of them want to upskill themselves and start contributing to the ecosystem. And some of them want to find jobs at the end of the day, right? So it's about creating that sense of collaboration within that ecosystem, and I think that is the core value of building a community. What works for us is also continuing that engagement. So when you understand what each of your community members need, and working backwards from there in bringing that to them, that definitely like increases that loyalty and reputation for that community. And then you start seeing smarter minds come in and start joining the community as well.
Yeah, Vish?
Yeah, I think I would follow on to say that both the panelists have said the most accurate things out there. I would like to add on to that is that a lot of developers also right now want to feel that sense of belonging, as like Pareen was saying, and also find jobs and also find meaning in those jobs and purpose as well. So adding more resources to that, bringing more collaborative efforts and supporting these guys to be able to experiment with respect to new products out there, trying to build new kind of innovative products, especially on the business front, not only on the tech front. I've met some amazing developers in India when I was working at China Global Capital. So just trying to continue and add on to that is what we believe in right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think even Pareen mentioned this. A lot of the focus ideally should be on getting developers their first incentive, their first dollar, their first rupee. I think once you crack that barrier, they've seen what the potential is of permissionless money, participating in a global economy, and then they eventually are hopefully hooked to it, right? So the good stuff and then resources come along with that. So I think I'll shoot some individual questions as well, right? I want to understand, can you describe any current state of Web3 developer initiatives that you are exposed to, you're building, that you think are very interesting or as an interesting model to follow? Maybe Kaavya, if you want to go first.
Sure. So currently what I'm seeing in the developer, with chains, right, and what they want to do with developers, in the last couple of years, we've been seeing a lot of these mass programs coming out, right, like hackathons, where you have a lot of masses coming in, building projects, and then you kind of take the cream of the crowd and then take those projects further. Lately, what I've been seeing, and even a couple of days ago, Sandeep did a talk in one of the events, and he's more focused on finding the co-developers, right? Now it's about focusing on deep diving into the technology and finding protocol engineers, ZK engineers, engineers building for DeFi in particular, and building those smaller cohorts of people and having more exclusive events that are more advanced as opposed to the mass events that are going on. So I think that trend is transitioning from doing these mass hackathons and mass events for developers to smaller hacker houses where you get experts to come in and deep dive into the technology further. And I think we're moving a step ahead from being a nascent technology to technology advancing towards the innovative future that it is.
Yeah, also peer groups help, right? I think when you have smaller focused communities, the vibes are much better. Efforts are not diluted, everyone's focused. It's a friend group more than anything. It helps build a lot of interesting things. Leading from that, I think what I want to understand is, what do you think as a developer's primary motivation to be a part of it? I think we discussed money as one of those things. Because you're young, you're starting out, probably out of college, and you were not exposed to receiving your income yet, and generally participating in a hackathon is the first way you normally choose. Any other motivations that you think are interesting that one should observe as a community, or maybe Pareen can take that?
I think the main motivator is for at least the best of devs who eventually go and build something large, sustainable, and impactful. What I've seen is the biggest motivator, of course money is there, but is to work with smartest of people. Our industry really attracts the smartest of people. And that is an opportunity that no SaaS startup can give them, no other startup or any other job is going to give them. I think I would also like to add the freedom, because the industry is largely remote first. The industry is largely based on independent work, where everyone can contribute to different projects in the ways that they want to. So these are two factors that's attracting so much young talent, that's enriching the collective IQ of this industry. I think at least the people that I meet come for these two factors.
Yeah, that makes sense. I want to throw another question to Vish, maybe. Vish, in your experience and having seen in your time with VCs, etc., and the ecosystem in general, what do you think is the state of the current grants program that most developers interact with, and how would you describe they could potentially get better, if any, you have thoughts about it and recommendations about it? Because how I'm thinking of it is that as a developer, you think of various reasons why you'd participate on, let's say, one protocol versus something else. There's processes, etc. Sometimes they're extremely tedious. And most devs, in my experience and having spoken to them, do not want to spend a lot of time going through that paperwork. They'd like to get into building ASAP, right? Communication is not always their best skill. So yeah, would love to hear from you.
So primarily what we're trying to do is bring the ease of EBM along with the composability, the security, and the interoperability of the customer side of it. We basically want to support the developers right from the ground up, right from the docs. That's one of the most important things out there to make it easy for the developers to be onboarded. Basically, in our entire idea is that to build a grassroots ecosystem where we have developers who are very tightly knit, building cool products from the ground up, providing them all the support which you basically require, right from funding to be able to give them tech advice, also be able to validate business models as well. What we've seen in India consistently is that the tech side of it is kind of brilliant, but sometimes the business models of it is not up to the mark sometimes. So what we look at is to validate those business models, help them basically fine tune those business models out there, help them get on these multiple panels such as VC panels where you're basically having interaction with these VCs. They help them out with respect to their business models moving forward. Help them fundraising as well, give them advice with respect to how to fine tune the tech. We have an amazing developer community, at least on the inner side of it with respect to our inner developer group. But this is what we think we need to do right now. And we'll be rolling out a couple of programs pretty soon. We've been at it for the past couple of months about how to build this ecosystem out in India. I hope this is it's super exciting for us. I hope the market basically loves it as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think you know who to ping now. It's fine, Vish on Twitter. But essentially, that's how I think of it as well. I think you'd have grant programs all over, but the most important part for a developer is what happens after the grant program. If the process is simple and easy, and once they're onboarded, if they have access to resources, advisors, guidance, and feedback, and potential funding to carry on beyond the grants program, right? I think the one problem we see is a lot of these developers tend to drop out of their product. They're building something that's not needed, maybe because it's a cool, fun thing they read about somewhere, and it always ends up in it's not a great experience. It almost, to me, feels like a trader trading in a high volatility asset, and once they're burned, they leave crypto forever. So I'd rather prefer developers start with something that's more sustainable than burn their hands and never come back again. So all right. So having said that, I wanted to understand, what do you think is the best touch point for a developer to start with? I think we addressed some of those touch points, hackathons, meetups. We spoke about what happens in a small core community of sorts. But generally, to reach a developer, maybe a small community is not the best way. Maybe you touch them or reach them in, let's say, a hackathon or a larger conference or an event of this sort. Any thoughts on what would that be for you? Maybe Pareen, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think the first touch point usually is always someone getting to buy token. That's unfortunate. Mostly, I think the alternatives are cropping up, but I can definitely imagine, having seen this at the exchange that I was working before this also, that even the devs have come here because, someone said, hey, trade this token. But then they discovered the technology. And when they discovered the technology, they thought, can I make a career in this? So that's very unfortunate. But I think it will change in a few years where a lot more awareness of Web3, I think college outreach programs like they do, a lot of people are going right on streets, organizing meetups, chain folks, and getting developers onboarded. I think this touch point will probably grow and someday outshine the token entry people, and that'll be a good time when we will not have to worry about whether someone's constantly thinking short term or long term. But maybe I would also like to point this, which we've been discussing at BuidlersTribe for a long time, that there's a difference between a hacker and a builder. Now everyone uses the word builder, but they're not really builders if they're going to hack a project in a week and just go away, abandon this. So when we are looking at, probably your question was more saying, who are the founders here? And founders generally come in by looking at technology very, very quickly after they get into trading. So the general profile of a founder who's going to build a large company like Polygon probably is going to come in definitely for the crypto trading, but then eventually, very quickly, they will realize that this technology is something that's important by either reading white paper, joining a Discord, or maybe airdrop farming or something like that. But they'll move beyond that very, very quickly. I think that's the profile.
I just had a follow-up on that, right? Do you think it's a rite of passage for, let's say, a builder to either start out, I mean, of course, not everyone has to start out trading, but more likely than not, they started out trading, or they ended up building a product that's not actually a business product of sorts, it's a hack product that you try over the weekend, or you think there's ways for us to help builders identify more interesting ideas that are largely sustainable, right? Even making initiatives happen through hackathons, etc., encouraging those kind of ideas versus just building something for the sake of it.
I think there is a large incentive. As a hacker, you can get 100K, 200K salary, not a problem if this industry is good. But if you are a founder, the potential is just very, very out there. It's insane asymmetric upside that all of us have. The problem with that comes insane risk as well, because there's regulatory risk, there's too much uncertainty, the tech is not scaling as of now. Hiring is very hard because hardly anyone knows this, and people who know this are already very well paid. So a lot of challenges exist, but I think probably the solution to this is not to say hackathons should be redesigned or anything like that. It is to say, let's provide disproportionate amount of help, both in money and energy, to people who commit themselves to doing this, saying, hey, I'm going to commit to this problem, this product, this sector, vertical, and I'm going to build on this for a really, really long time. They may fail initially, their products may fail, their companies may fail, but if they keep building, there are real problems to be solved. And as ecosystem people, all we need to do today, in my opinion, is to say, hey, if we are spending $100 on all of the developer, which is hacker activity, let's allocate maybe 40% more to the founder activity. If we can allocate that in terms of money and energy, those founders are going to benefit a lot more. They're going to create a lot more jobs for everyone else here as well. And what VCs keep asking us is, where's the next Polygon? So hopefully we'll get our next Polygon out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I have something for Kaavya. Kaavya, do you have thoughts on what is the role of reputation and rewards in something that's a community oriented towards this, right? Like we discussed, there are resources, there are grants, funding, all sorts of things, feedback that you can provide, but there's also some form of reputation and a reward system that's beyond that most developers probably look for, or even anybody who's part of a community that's even non-tech for that matter. Do you have thoughts about that?
Yeah, so in fact, we are building a sort of reputation system for the community at Lumos as well, right? One of the biggest problems we found is when there is no reputation or any sort of journey tracked, it's very hard to discover the right kind of people, right? One of the biggest problems we've seen when we organize hackathons is that a lot of developers come in with one particular skill set, and they want people with the other kind to be able to build a product full-fledged, right? So I could be a back-end developer looking for a front-end developer. At this point, I could be talking to somebody saying, okay, I know all of this tech, I know all of these languages, but when it comes down to building, they actually aren't able to produce what is expected, right? With a reputation system, you can actually, track this journey throughout. So discovering the right kind of people that you want to collaborate with becomes a lot easier. It's also good to find the cream of the crowd, right? So as you keep building your reputation, you keep gaining these XP points or scores or whatever you want to call it. It becomes easier to find the cream of the lot. And at that point, it's great to identify these people and then, take them further. Like Pareen said, developers are the larger pool, and then the subset who could potentially be founders building innovative products. Finding that subset is really hard when you don't have a reputation system or any sort of, tracking system for them. So these are a couple of things that really help when you have a reputation system within.
Vish, do you have thoughts? I think based on your current role, you'll also be interacting with a lot more developers, like you already mentioned. But do you have thoughts on what would be a good reputation or a social reward maybe for these folks?
Yeah, like proof of code definitely is. And also one thing I'd like to add with respect to this is also how many languages they know probably, because like it basically helps you understand the syntax of it, and also it helps you think in a little bit different ways as well, right? Second thing also is that what Kaavya is talking about, the reputation system, is I think like one of the main things which is going to be required going forward. Because it also looks at it from the community perspective, which is Web3 at the end of the day as well. Couple of other initiatives or like things which are required is also like having these developers look at the security side of it from the base up, so that they understand how to build these protocols as well. Couple of things that's it.
Yeah, I think one interesting thing that I remember as far as rewards or reputation, whether it's on-chain or off-chain is concerned, is I think people must know this, but when the Bonk airdrop happened, they rewarded developers the most, right? They set aside a massive pool. So I was checking the other day, and apparently the amount of money they received when the drop happened, it's today worth about 150K USD. So that's a massive airdrop to contributors. I think that's one way, especially I just want to like make a small tangent over here, that when you have a new protocol coming up, a new token incentive coming up, incentivizing and pushing contributors and builders and developers to the forefront versus someone who's just speculating on a day trade, which is not exactly bad, but it's much more valuable to push a contributor further in the industry, right? So these people have stayed longer, had higher retention as well because of that drop, because they had to focus less on earning a daily wage. All right, so having said that, I think the last few things I want to discuss is maybe everyone can take a shot at this, but what are the initiatives you're currently focused on for this year and what that looks like? Maybe Pareen.
For the next year, or
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I think next year, hopefully it's still a bear market. Wish is rooting for that for sure. You can see the Bera. But I think if there is price pump that happens next year, we are going to see an influx of new people, which is mostly not going to be good quality. These are first-timers who will think that now I can create a Web3 company just because I created a SaaS company. That's going to be very hard to filter. New devs will come in for only $5,000 to buy an iPhone and then go back to their Infosys jobs again. And that's very scary for me, actually. I don't know what to say, but it just sounds like, okay, this is a great time that we don't have to really think. And the ideas being discussed will be worked upon. Mostly what happens when you see the prices going high is that a lot of ideas will be discussed, but nothing will be worked upon. So hopefully, if it's still really, really high market cap flying prices, then probably time to hide. If not, then we keep working the way we were working. I think that's my outlook for next 1 year.
Yeah, makes sense. Vish, I think already spoken about the things you have planned, but would love to hear if it's 2024, something specific you're looking at.
Like what Pareen rightly pointed out, right? Like if there's a price pump, there's a lot of new people coming in. For us, the main aim is to like get all the people who are already been here for a couple of years, who understand the ecosystem, how these apps are built, how the entire network basically works is what we want to do. The way we are looking at it is to like start off with like local initiatives out there, so that we get a good group of people in each city, each developer community out there, so that they're able to interact with each other to understand what is the necessary requirement out there. Then basically tie this up with like researchers out there who are looking at the entire ecosystem, see what's missing, speak to these developers, basically build on top of that. That's what we're primarily aiming at right now. For us also, it's like very key that like onboarding of developers is very easy, very smoothless, very seamless at the end of the day. We got our dev rails working on that. We got our systems being set up as well with the same initiatives as well. Another important thing for us is also like to make sure that all these developers, these ideas which are coming out is also funded. That's why we have proof of liquidity as a consensus, where we primarily drive liquidity to smart contracts out there through governance, which are basically doing really well and which can basically support the entire ecosystem from the very core at the end of the day. For us, we are hoping and we're aiming to basically make our developer ecosystem and the EVM ecosystem and to add value to that primarily. We basically have Polaris, a modified EVM, we can call it, but we also call it EVM equivalent plus, where we have had certain features, certain modules which can help these developers look at the T5 notice in a much more easier manner. So yeah, let's see the developer market in India loves our initiatives. We also, at the end of the day, want to bring in the vibes because we basically want to make sure that, yeah, like the tech would be good, but also we want you to stay for the vibes and the community and the ecosystem at the end of the day. And yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, sounds great. I look forward to seeing what you have in store. Kaavya, how about you?
Yeah. First things first, developers don't stop building if the market is up or down, right? So they always continue building, so that's always something to look forward to. What I'm more excited about is the halving, right? So if that happens, usually the market goes up and we will see new people come in. And the focus for us has always been to bring more people into this ecosystem. So I've always noticed that when Web2 developers work with Web3 developers, there's magic that happens because Web2 developers have their fundamentals right. They've seen scale to no extent. And Web3 developers obviously come in with the expertise and the kind of knowledge that they have on this end, right? For me, if things do look up in the market, we start seeing more people come in, and for us, it's about educating those guys into coming into this ecosystem and exploring it. And on the other hand, for Web3 developers, it's about focusing and exploring further and deeper into the technology, right? Like I mentioned, I think a curated group of very, very good developers are, say 50 developers are way more powerful than 1,000 developers coming for a hackathon. And that's what we want to focus on getting, going deeper into the technology and teaching that to the developer community.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's one insight that we recently discovered as well, right? We put out this India Web3 landscape report, and while doing the developer landscape analysis, we realized that a lot of these developers that came in the bear markets actually stayed. So their recent activity was last 30 days, whereas the ones who came in the last few years, maybe they'll take time to come back again. But essentially, they have a higher churn rate, right? So if you come in around 2019, you probably stayed around a lot longer. If you come in now or the last year, you'll probably stick around for the next 4 years in the next cycle. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, guys. It was great having this conversation, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abbas.